Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. It is me, once again, screaming into the void of the internet. you know, um, we're making it work in terms of, like, getting to work and whatnot. But, you gotta admit that, like, every day, I'm just, like, kind of in a little bit of mental anguish because I don't think people realize, like, how desperately I'm, like, clinging to this job as basically, like, my freaking one and only hope. And especially because, like, essentially no one else in this house is really trying, like, at least in terms of my family. So, they can't begin to understand. If I could put it into words, it's essentially like a cat, funnily enough, right? Let's say that it's a freaking cat, and it's clinging onto a freaking shower pole, right? Like the little shower pole in the house, and like right under there, okay, right under there is like just a big arse German Shepherd just hoping that this sucker falls. That's essentially me, you know? And I'm really just hoping that I can make it work, because if I can at least hold out, at least until either this week or next week, because I didn't get paid last week, so I'm going to assume that either the payroll didn't go out that week or it had already gone out. And so either it's going to go out this week or I have to wait until next week to get paid. But once it does, I should have enough to like have, a way to get to work by myself. Now, I'm still going to like, ask for rides and whatnot, but knowing that if, like there's ever an emergency, I'll have a way, that's going to be good. So, yeah. In short, I really just need to save up, probably like buy a moped or something like that. So I've been looking around at motor shops and seeing how much they cost, and so on average, like 1,700, 1,800. So that's not that bad. I can have like one of those within, a couple of months, right? Should everything go according to plan, right? Because at this point, you guys know I'm cursed. I have bad RNG, like, so who knows what happened, right? Um, I wanted to say something because I was looking at this guy who was homeless and whatnot, but he looked pretty well kept. And I was thinking about, I don't really judge homeless people, specifically the ones that do the best that they can, like, maintain their appearance and whatnot. I don't really care for the ones that, just use that as an excuse to just like, freaking crap in public places and, just do drugs like in public areas. Like if you're gonna live like that, then like why not go and like, chill in the woods or something, like there is a certain, amount of disdain that I have for those kinds of homeless people. But for the ones that are actually trying, I really feel for them, and I think I think it's insane that again someone can just come to this country not speaking any English and businesses accommodate for them. But here's a guy who's actually trying to get his life together and he gets no help. Realistically speaking, people don't really comprehend just how hard it is to like get out of being homeless. Let's say that you're homeless and you don't have anything, okay? Like I'm talking no ID, no nothing, because like you're homeless, so it's not like you can just carry all this around with you constantly. And the moment you drop it, not drop it, but like set it down, there is a massive risk about some cocksucker just running off with it. Like people don't really understand that, so you got to worry about like identification, social card. Then you've got like the fact that everything is by phone these days. Everything's by some technology. Like for God's sakes, I had to download a goddamn app in order to like find out my schedule. They couldn't even like just give me a schedule like they normally would. They just said, "All right, look, just check that every day." And listen, that's not me like giving my job a hard time. I'm just saying like think about if somebody wasn't in this position, that I'm in, for example, and I'm not even in the best of positions by any means. But if they weren't in that position and they were to get a job, it's crazy. Like some jobs do have things where they help, and I think that this should kind of be a standard to where what they can do is they'll let you use the job's site, like its address, as like your address for like billing and all kinds of stuff like that. And I think that that's a wonderful thing because again, we should actually be trying to get these people off the streets. Not in the term of like just giving some sucker a fat arse, handout, but giving them the ability to work their way out of that position, like everyone else. You know what I'm saying? Because some of these cocksuckers want to say, oh, just give them a handout and stuff like that. And when I look at that, I just look at all these cocksuckers that are over here, just using it as a way to just live and not even attempt to, like, get out of it. Trust me, I know. I grew up in the ghetto, and tons of those cocksuckers were just living off of their freaking social security. They had no intention to stop. They would pop out babies just to ensure that they got even more food stamps. It's disgusting. It's debaucherous. But I think about that stuff because, realistically speaking, guys, that's me. Realistically speaking, that is me if I had, like, literally no support circle. And sometimes I think, with the freaking luck that I have, that it could one day be me. Now, I wouldn't let it happen fully because I'm just going to be honest. If I got to that point, I'm not sitting on the side of the freaking road, when I could just go in the store and just start eating some food, and then I could just say, hey, look, go ahead and arrest me. What you going to do? You put me in jail, and now guess what? I get a roof over my head. I get freaking internet access. I get, like, a room. Listen, yeah, I got to fight for my life and stuff like that, even in jail. But the fact of the matter is, if you're homeless and you guys have ever been in a position of homelessness, you got to fight for your life anyway. The fact of the matter is, homeless people kill each other all the time, but it just doesn't get reported because these people are basically off the freaking radar for the most part. Like freaking ID, social cards, they don't have that stuff. They lose all that stuff. They just give up. So you got to fight for your life as a homeless person, and so it's not really much different in the freaking jail. It's just that now you actually get a freaking shower, clothes, and stuff. Yeah, you got to abide by their rules and rap, but still, you know. So for me, I was like, like if I ever got to that point, I would probably just go ahead and do that, you know? And I just straight up tell the freaking jury, hey, listen, you cocksuckers don't want to freaking do anything to help American citizens and whatnot, so if I gotta just make you dumb arses pay for me with taxes, all right, I'll do that. I really don't care. It's not like I want to do this, but hey, you give someone no choice, and if you give me a choice between jail or homelessness, I'll go ahead and take jail. Just is what it is. I will take jail when it's something that I did, not when I didn't do it, If I didn't do it, then yeah, we gonna have some problems. But if I did do it, then yeah, I'll go ahead and take that. I'll take that right on the chin. So, yeah. But looking at that stuff, it's just irritating because, again, I see myself in those people. Like I said, I was homeless for at least a week, just living on the road and just sitting in a car full of crap, literally, just full of crap, which now has been repossessed and whatnot. So, you just think about stuff like that, and it's like, just imagine if that would have happened, like, while we were there or something, Like, I don't know why we just have, like, such freaking bad luck. And I'm not talking about myself in this. I'm just saying, like, some of us guys, I don't know. I really don't know why we get such short ends of the sticks, and we just get screwed so hard. Especially because, realistically speaking, I've noticed that a lot of guys in this position, like, it's not they were good people or anything. I don't really believe that there's such a thing as a good person. I really don't buy into that stuff. You can try to be one, but I feel like the only times that you're trying to be one is literally by rejecting human nature, because human nature seems to be pretty effed up. No matter what you want to say about it and how you want to justify it, and you say, oh, well, other animals don't have to justify their nature. Yeah, well, other animals don't have the ability to reason. So, yeah. The smarter you are, the more accountable you are. And you can get mad at that all you want, but the fact of the matter is, if I freaking smashed your daughter's face or something like that, you're gonna hold me accountable. You're not gonna sit around here and say, oh, well, you're just idiotable. So don't give me that horse crap. Is what it is. So for me, the point is this, right? When it comes down to it, good people are usually just trying their hardest to, like, acknowledge human nature and just reject it. That's essentially what I do all the time. I acknowledge human nature and I reject it because, honestly, human nature is kind of why we're in this position. When you really think about it. Yeah, nature is inherently, like, selfish, and it rewards selfishness, but still, they have essentially stopped you from being selfish, They're selfish, with their greed and stuff like that, but they stop you from being selfish. If you just said, all right, F everyone else, I'm going to go, like, build a cabin, you better hide because they're going to come for you. You're going to fish and stuff like that. Oh, they're going to come for you. You better have a license. Now, again, funnily enough, though, you don't need a license to pop out a kid. You need a license to build a house. You need a license to fish. You need a license to hunt. But creating life, new slaves. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Citizens. Yeah, you don't need a license for that. We don't give a rat's arse. We don't care if they have birth defects. Don't you worry. Go ahead and pop them out so that we can go ahead and make money off of them. That's really all it boils down to. So I find it very amusing when some of these people make it seem like, oh, my kids are, my ultimate legacy. I mean, you look at your ultimate legacy and what's their destination, just a freaking fast food worker and stuff like that. Just saying. Just saying. But not to ramble too much, I'm just kind of checking in because honestly, I really need to get these like freaking negative thoughts out of my head. Because, like I said, guys, I'm not having panic attacks or anything, but it's very irritating not knowing if I'm going to be able to go into work today. Like, literally today, for example, one of the people said that they were going to take me. Then she just literally just didn't even answer my call. She did it. This is literally why, like I said, like this is going to complicate things, and it's why I really need to like hurry and get paid so that I can have an access of money, so that I know that I can get to work. The problem, however, is because I get paid bi-weekly. Can I really say that I will have enough to last me 2 whole weeks paying for Ubers and stuff like that? You see, that's the problem. So I'm still probably going to need to rely on them, at least to some extent until I can get enough. But ideally, I'm going to have to just save up. I'm going to have them like teach me how to drive, get all this crap settled out, and just buy a scooter so that way I know that I can get to work. Freaking $1,500 around there. Just buy one of those. Not immediately, but like, when I get a little bit of something. So probably going to wait till maybe I hit maybe 3,000 and then I got to snag one. I have to. I cannot be dealing with people that are just going to freaking say stuff like, oh, don't worry, we got you. And then the next freaking day, and I'm like, all right, it's time to go to work. And now no one wants to reply. Like it's, yeah, I still managed to get there on time today and I clocked in all the good stuff. But again, they're not worried because they're not in the position. If they were in the position, they know that they want someone to get them to the job. So yeah, it's freaking ridiculous, but it's fine. I have to just do this. I have to tolerate this, and hopefully I will get better. Hopefully things will get better. I have no guarantee, but I know this, that even if things don't get better immediately, if I can at least just, let's say that worst comes to worst, if I could just hold out to where I can get enough money to at least buy a freaking moped, I'm at least going to vastly have more options in terms of like getting hired because I'll be able to go wherever I need to. And the fact of the matter is, those things are insanely fuel efficient. You're talking about freaking maybe 3 gallons of gas tops, and you get freaking 80 to 100 miles a gallon. Come on now, like that's plenty of commute trips, no problem. So it's gonna save me tons of money, and I can actually afford it, unlike a freaking car. So, yeah. But I'm gonna go ahead and conclude it here. The sad part is I did a freaking all-nighter at work today. Freaking got off dang near at 12, and I have to go back in at 9 a.m. I have to be there at 9 a.m. But I'm probably gonna have to get up even earlier than that because 9 times out of 10, if they're gonna take me, and this is if they're gonna take me, this is what I have to find out. If they're gonna take me, I'm probably gonna have to leave even earlier. So I've got limited sleep tonight because I have to wash my uniform because it got pretty messy. But I'm not going to complain. Like I said, this is not me complaining about work stuff because, listen, I am not going to say a word. You have no idea. You have no idea. Like, being in job purgatory is not something that I wish on, anyone who is actually, worth some salt, essentially. If you're a piece of garbage, like DEI hires, go F yourself. Yeah, you deserve, like, freaking job purgatory because you cocksuckers don't do anything at work and you just think you're supposed to get a paycheck. Whenever I've gone to any job, I've actually done the best that I can. If I'm learning, I learn, and I emulate. And it's funny because sometimes people that are, there longer than me, and I've noticed this in multiple jobs, longer than me, literally they're there the whole time, and they do stuff stupid. Like, you're over here doing a simple task, and this cocksucker is over here just like, oh, I need help with this. I'm like, aren't you, like, my senior here? Why would you possibly need help? And it's not like, again, it's a complicated task. If it's a complicated task, it's one thing. If it's a simple task and you need help and you're my senior, again, I just want to know why the heck are people like that there, So, yeah, but I don't want to go ahead and drag this on too long because, like I said, I do kind of need to get whatever rest I can and then get up really early again and get back at it. But then I'll have Wednesday off, so that'll be nice. Thank you guys for listening. I will again keep you guys all informed. I will say this, and I think I'm gonna like say this as my like little ending to videos now. There's life beyond your pain, guys. There's life beyond my pain, and sometimes I have to remind myself of that, you know. Because listen, sometimes it can be freaking overwhelming. It really can, but I'm gonna keep hanging in there. I'm not gonna sit around here and tell you that you have to keep hanging in there either. But you know, you don't know when things are gonna get better. But if you keep pushing, at some point it's probably gonna get better. I don't know how much better. I'm not gonna sit around here and lie to you, but it can get better. So hang in there, guys. God bless. I will see you guys next time.